The human race is about to get a lot more interesting. Okay, it's not actually going to happen, but for fun, let's imagine that our animal counterparts suddenly learn the gift of gab. Let's explore what would happen in 6 scenarios. First up, pets at home. You're cozy on the couch enjoying your favorite TV show when suddenly you hear, "Hey, human, I need some dinner." Huh, did your dog just talk? Of course he did. In fact, canines have been trying to communicate with humans for thousands of years, but we've been too preoccupied to listen. Dogs typically use a combination of body language and vocal cues to express themselves. A wagging tail or a playful bow can convey a lot of info, but sometimes they want something more specific. Like they see food in your hand, so they lick your face and yip. Or they might nudge your leg when it's time for a walk. Your dog may be a bit needy. When Fido starts talking, though, his needs become crystal clear. And let's face it, some dogs are gonna take full advantage of this new ability. When asked, 29% of dog owners said their pet would likely ask for more food, while 22% think their dog would demand more walks. Some may be more poetic. 16% of owners think their dog would express how much they love them, and 11% believe their dog would thank them for saving them from a life on the streets. Cats are a bit different, but they have plenty of things they'd like to tell us if they could talk. For starters, most cats would probably request more food and less cleaning. Cats are meticulous groomers, but they'll still appreciate an occasional back scratch. Plus, they'd like to remind us that they're not little dogs, so hands off the leash. Parrots, on the other hand, would likely try to discuss politics. These chatty birds have the largest brain of any animal relative to their body size and are renowned for their mimicry skills. Some can even speak 1,000 words or more. So if you have a parrot, you might be surprised by its commentary on current events. You'd best keep an eye on what you're saying around the bird, though, because they often repeat what they hear. It's hard to imagine that animals wouldn't use speech to communicate beyond just their immediate needs. After all, a conversation is a pretty convenient way to coordinate with others. Just think of how much gossip would spread through the chimpanzee community once they started talking. But some animals wouldn't use speech for chit-chat. If lions could talk, they'd probably use their newfound communication skills to find and hunt prey. Lions spend roughly 20 hours a day looking for food, and being able to call out to each other from miles away would make hunting much easier. Just imagine a lion pride coordinating its attack, communicating with each other through speech instead of growls and snarls. They could plan out strategies to catch their prey off guard. Dolphins also rely on sound to find food, but they'd likely use speech to mark out territory as well. Dolphins produce a variety of sounds from whistles to squeaks to barks, and researchers believe these noises help them identify each other as well as locate mates. Being able to talk would allow them to claim space and warn off rivals. Plus, they could coordinate to trap prey. Just picture a pod of dolphins surrounding a school of fish and then using synchronized clicks and clacks to herd them into a tight ball. The birds would take verbal communication to new heights. If birds could talk, we'd learn a lot about their world. Studies have shown that they communicate far more complex information than we previously thought possible. For example, a scrub jay can pass on detailed info about the location of buried food, including the type of terrain, color cues, and even the direction of the sun. Being able to talk would expand their communication abilities exponentially. Birds could start planning for the future. Picture a flock of birds talking together about the upcoming migration south for the winter. They could share stories about the best routes, avoiding predators, and where to find the juiciest worms. That is, of course, if they weren't too busy complaining about how good the worms used to be. But what if animals could talk? It wouldn't just change our relationship with them, it would change everything. Zoos would be the first to feel the effects. Many people argue that keeping animals in captivity is inhumane. Zoos say they provide education and conservation opportunities, but their critics claim animals are simply put on display to entertain us. Well, if zoos had talking animals, public opinion might change quickly. Imagine a gorilla criticizing its living conditions or a polar bear complaining about global warming. Animal rights activists would have a field day. But perhaps the biggest impact would be felt by farmers. Factory farming is a controversial topic. While some believe it's the best way to feed a growing population, others worrying about the treatment of the animals. This debate could come to a screeching halt if farm animals could talk. Listen to this. According to a survey, the majority of Americans believe that if pigs could talk, they wouldn't eat pork anymore. Bacon would become yesterday's news, but what about conservation? Talking animals could either help or hurt conservation efforts. Take a look at the African wild dog. Also known as the painted dog, this canine is considered an endangered species with only an estimated 6,600 left in the wild. Their numbers have declined due to habitat loss and conflict with humans. Now imagine one of these dogs escaping a national park and making its way to a nearby village. It could easily warn people about the dangers of humans encroaching on their territory, such as the risk of contracting diseases from domestic dogs. On the flip side, if farm animals could talk, they could convince people to buy locally sourced meat from factory farms because it takes more energy to transport meat from a farther distance. Suddenly, CAFOs aren't seeming so bad, but here's the real question. If animals could talk, would they become citizens? There's a growing movement to recognize animals as legal persons. This means they would have rights similar to those enjoyed by humans. For example, in 2014, a New Zealand court ruled that a parrot named Charlie was a legal person, allowing him to remain in the care of his owner rather than being seized by animal control. But what if every animal was a citizen? Governments would need to make some big changes. If farm animals could vote, they'd likely ban factory farming. But would they also go against their own best interests? Pigs might want cleaner living conditions, but they'd also want access to open land to root around in, which could cause damage to the ecosystem. If lions could talk, should we give them the right to roam freely? This could endanger humans and other animals. Then again, maybe lions would propose solutions to their problems. If wolves could talk, they might explain that they're an essential part of the forest ecosystem and should be protected. If whales could vote, they'd almost certainly ban plastic straws. Countries would need to decide whether to grant animals citizenship or continue to see them as property. But even if they didn't become citizens, animals would still hold a lot of weight in society. If dogs could talk, judges might take their word for it when they claim they were just protecting their home. Courts would also need to consider animal testimony in criminal cases. If a parrot witnessed a crime, could it take the stand to tell all? In a world where animals could talk, our entire justice system would need to be rewritten. Researchers have made some great strides toward understanding animal languages. One day soon, our animal counterparts might just start chatting with us. Until then, we'll have to decipher their chirps, barks, and growls. Do you think animals should have the right to talk? If so, which species would you want to understand first? Tell us in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe and thanks for watching.